So the heart of our heart chakra trinity is none other than rose quartz. Rose quartz is, really needs no introduction, because when anyone thinks of a stone of love, even though there are literally hundreds of crystals that could be associated with and connected with the heart and frequencies of love, rose quartz is probably the most common and the one that is often gifted. We gift this stone, whether it's to children, whether it's to grandparents, whether it's to a loved one, friends, family, beloveds. It is a frequency that we understand that means love. I mean, just to look at this beautiful pink stone, this is its most common way you might find it in a shop. You can see it is, in this particular piece, it's quite opaque. So this is quite a common stone that comes in chunks, but you can also get pieces that are quite transparent, quite clear. So even though this is a uncut piece, it is still quite translucent. And then higher quality pieces such as this is the polished piece, you can see have a darker color. So they can vary a lot by color, by the way they're cut, and the transparency as well. So as far as rose quartz goes, though, in the color frequencies, you would think, if I showed you this stone, you'd say it's pink, right? But strangely enough, this stone actually holds the blue ray. So I'll explain why that is, because it doesn't make sense to our human eye. The crystal itself actually holds within it a mineral called dumortierite, which is a deep blue. And it is these very fine filaments of dumortierite are suspended within the matrix of the quartz, because rose quartz is obviously part of the quartz family, which also includes amethyst, it includes citrine, it includes clear quartz, smoky quartz. So rose indicates its rose color. But it's interesting because the actual chemical makeup of this crystal holds within it a mineral that is blue, but we don't perceive it as blue because it is so fine, and the light that hits the dumortierite within the quartz matrix actually reflects in a way that our eyes see pink. So it's really interesting. It's almost like it's the blue ray in disguise. I've got actually the liquid crystal card here, which has the breakdown of the color frequencies, and you can see within this card that there's both blue and pink. So the blue ray is what connects the heart to the next chakra, which is the throat, of course, which is the seat of our expression. So as I mentioned, we're in this bridge, we're in this intermediary space between our upper and lower worlds. But once we start making the movement up, it's like this is a bottleneck space. That even just seeing the shape of our body, this is our biggest area, our chest, our heart area. We've built all this energy up into this space, and then we go into this tiny little area here, our area of expression. So there's a lot of energy that builds and that is needing to draw itself up, kind of like in the opposite direction, going through the birth canal. So when a baby is born, it's in this beautiful cushy space of the tummy, the belly of the mother, but it's got to squeeze through this tiny little bottleneck of the cervix to actually be born. And it's a similar energy of moving, that movement from the heart to the throat. There is quite a lot of pressure that is needed to squeeze us into the higher frequencies. But it actually, once we start that momentum, it does happen quite fast, in that once we deepen into the healing frequencies of the heart, we start tapping into a grace, into a higher frequency that really brings us to our knees. And I'll speak a lot more about this, but it's essentially we can just look at a piece of rose quartz and go, oh yeah, it's nice and fluffy and love. But when we go into the deeper chambers of the heart and the experiences and the levels of suffering that we experience as a humanity through all of its flavors, you know, the level of trust in love that is required to withstand the amount of pain that we need to go through as sons and daughters, as mothers and fathers, as beloveds, as grandparents, on all layers of the human experience. We endure so much that is so far away from our cosmic origin, you know, our divine birthright. We experience so much heart-shattering pain that keeps us locked into these bodies and not ascending to those higher frequencies. Now, I'm not of the belief that we need to just ascend and not be here, because obviously we're here for a reason. We're here to be embodied. So just as importantly as it is to move up, it's just as important to bring these energies down into our physicality, into our body. So rose quartz has a really important role in the art of forgiveness. And forgiveness is one of those words where you sort of think, oh yeah, you know, whatever. Or you might think, oh yeah, I've forgiven them. I've forgiven everyone I need. Or I'm never going to forgive that person. You know, trying to tell someone to forgive someone who's done something horrendous to them is, you know, it's something that you can't tell another. This is an energy that has to be come to once we've pushed to our absolute limits and when we can't go any further. And the only thing that we can do is literally drop to our knees and pray. This is the frequency of pressure that pushes us into that truth, that deep knowing within that allows grace to flow through and to clear any stagnancy that we're holding in this place. I mean, the energy of grace really has the ability to dissolve anything. All of our barriers and all of our challenges and all of the things that are so calcified within us, all of our fears and resentments and betrayals and heartaches, you know, all of it. You think about, you know, what Mother Mary had to endure to watch her beloved son nailed to a cross, or Mary Magdalene, her beloved, you know, to watch that level of suffering and pain, and that encoding, that whole code of surrender to something higher is within us. We all have our different crosses to bear. Whether you're, you know, interested in that particular story in a religious context or even just a spiritual context, every faith, every culture has its stories of incredible beings that had to walk through the fires of complete injustice to transform. And yes, that's why, you know, often Mother Mary is depicted in those pale blues, and she's, you know, pointing to her heart, because she's like, my heart is on fire. I am on fire, but I also am made free. It is through forgiveness. It is through allowing the grace to move through our heart that we are able to dissolve all of those things that are unforgivable. The things that are unforgivable, you know, there is so many hurdles to be able to come to that place, and often people will not. You know, it is a choice. It is a choice that has to come from within. And once we are able to move through that space of holding on to our anger, our injustice, our absolute fury at the state of the world, at the state of like what's happening to starving children in war-torn countries. You know, how do you make space for this in your heart? And the only way is to expand the heart through breaking it. So the broken heart is actually part of the journey. It's part of the cracking open to surrender to something higher, to pray for the grace to move through our lives, and to allow the forgiveness to wash our heart clear and pure. You know, it's easier said than done, but one thing is for sure, that this connection between the throat and the heart this is where we use the energy of our heart to express our truth. And we can speak our truth. So forgiving is not accepting bad behavior or staying silent. No, it's about how do we express love truthfully or truth in a loving way. How do we speak and share and communicate? Because the communication piece from the heart, the merging of those two frequencies together, the pink and the blue, is what relationship and divine relationship is about. It's about traversing the challenging conversations. It's about being so true to yourself, but being able to speak your truth with love, even if it is something that is painful. Knowing that any hurt that another may feel if you speak your truth is theirs to bear. If you're speaking truth with love, you're clear. You have a clear conscience. It's only when we choose to use our words for harm that, you know, there is a shadow side to that. So yes, the rose quartz frequency, even though it is a very common crystal, even though it seems as if, oh yeah, we know all about that, it's incredibly deep, and it goes deeply into the heart of humanity. And it's why we have so much of it circulating the planet right now, because it's something that we all need in order to shift what is holding us back from rising higher, from connecting in with the truth of who we are, and to be able to live as living embodiments of love. So I'll leave you there, and we'll see you in the next video.